Y a partir de este momento, Montgomery al Día. Un programa presentado por el Condado de Montgomery con el objetivo de mantener a la población latina informada sobre todo lo que acontece en nuestro condado. Un espacio informativo para que usted obtenga acceso directo a los servicios de su gobierno local. Aquí da inicio Montgomery al Día. Queda con ustedes la presentadora de este programa y portavoz hispana del Condado de Montgomery, Lorna Virgilí.
Así es, queridos amigos, muy buenas tardes. Bienvenidos una vez más aquí a Montgomery al Día, su programa oficial del gobierno del Condado de Montgomery, galardonado a nivel nacional. Y como cada martes a las 2 de la tarde, por más de 11 años acá, su presentadora y portavoz hispana de este condado, Lorna Virgilí. Muchísimas gracias por esa sintonía y les recordamos que este programa también se transmite en vivo y en directo por la página de Facebook de Montgomery County en español, al igual que por la página de Facebook de Radio América. Así que si no está conduciendo, puede vernos también a través de las imágenes en Facebook. Montgomery County en español. Bueno, hablando de imágenes, vamos a hablar de cámaras de video de seguridad. Y vamos a estar conversando con el Teniente Dan Helton de la Policía del Condado de Montgomery. Este es un programa nuevo que se implementó hace unos pocos días, donde si usted vive en el Condado de Montgomery o tiene un negocio o una entidad sin fines de lucro, usted pudiera adquirir cámaras de video de seguridad para poner en su propiedad y obviamente colaborar con la policía. Pero hay un reembolso, $250 para las cámaras individuales en las residencias y hasta $1,250 para los negocios y entidades sin fines de lucro. Bueno, good afternoon, Lieutenant Helton. How are you? That was a long intro. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So we're going to be talking about the new security camera incentive program for businesses and residents here in the county. So what is the first step necessary? Because there is the map of the areas that are being selected, priority areas where residents and businesses can get that reimbursement for the purchase of security cameras. So what is the first step if anybody's interested in acquiring a new security camera?
All right, great. Well, thanks again for having me. The first step is to go to our police website. And once you're at the Montgomery County Police website, you are going to click the tab that says, How do I? How do I? And it's going to give you a list of a lot of different things. One of those things I'm looking at is the private security rebate program. You click on that. That is the main page for the program. It's going to give you information. It'll give you be able to see if you're eligible with the map. It has the online application form. You click on Q's to give you a lot of information about the general questions we've been getting.
El primer paso, le preguntaba cuál es el primer paso por si alguien está interesado en obtener estas cámaras de seguridad. El primer paso es ingresar en el sitio web de la policía, montgomerycountymd.gov. I'm just giving the website. Diagonal POL. Ahí van a encontrar un mapa interactivo, también la solicitud electrónica y hay una sección también con respuesta a las preguntas que las personas tienen en relación a este programa. The first step is the interactive map. Why? Because I need to know if my house is in one of those areas. Correct?
Exactly. You need to know whether or not you're eligible. So right now, to get this program started, we only have enough money funded currently for about a little over 1,000 cameras. So we're being fairly conservative. We're really only allowing areas that really need these cameras based on higher crime rates. So those areas, if you're in those particular areas, then you're eligible to participate in the program. Every year, we're going to look at those. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Claro, el primer paso es ingresar al mapa interactivo para ver si usted vive dentro de estas zonas que han sido ya pues seleccionadas como prioritarias porque son zonas donde quizás las tasas de crimen son un poco más elevadas. En este momento hay presupuesto solamente para unas 1,000 cámaras, reembolsar unas 1,000 cámaras. Quizás en el futuro pues puedan ser más. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I was just going to add that every year we're going to revisit this map. We're going to look at, do we need to expand it? If we get more money, I'd really like to expand it a lot more, make more people eligible. But we'll look at areas that may, because crime throughout the county changes. Areas throughout the county experience crime differently. So that'll give us an opportunity to modify that map and change it accordingly to make sure those folks who need cameras are able to get those.
En términos de este mapa interactivo para encontrar esas zonas, pues esperan que a través de los años, este es el primer año de este programa, pero que cuando continúe a través de los años esto se pueda expandir a otras áreas. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Porque es que el crimen varía de área en área y de año en año. Entonces, pues a lo largo de lo que va a ser este programa que acaba de ser implementado, pues obviamente esto se va a estar reevaluando constantemente. So the funding for this year is about $255,000, and you mentioned 1,000 cameras, right?
Roughly. That's right.
Okay. Hasta ahorita para este programa, but this isn't for the fiscal year, so this ends in June 30th next year, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And then so what I plan to do is kind of keep an eye on where we are. I'm not going to wait till it gets depleted, and I'm going to go back and see if this camera gets a lot of attention, a lot of interest, this program, I'm going to ask for more money because I think it's important.
Okay. Van a estar hablando, obviamente, cuál popular, cuánta atención adquiere este programa. El presupuesto existente ahorita es de $255,000, una vez más, para unas 1,000 cámaras de video, y a la misma vez, esto es hasta el año fiscal, que culmina el 30 de junio del año próximo. So going back to those priority areas that were selected, obviously this was based on public safety indicators, right? We are saying which are those areas so people are aware where these indicators have been the highest. Do you want to mention some of those areas?
Sure. It's areas, some areas in Silver Spring. Actually, every police district in the county has some of these areas. So, in areas in Silver Spring, in Wheaton, in Bethesda, in Germantown, Gaithersburg. So there's pockets throughout where we're looking at this. And we've got these indicators from our police reporting system. And crimes include like homicides, robberies, burglaries, assaults. Types of crimes that really impact the community.
Estas áreas fueron seleccionadas obviamente por los indicadores relacionados con seguridad pública y de crimen. Le preguntaba acá al Teniente Helton cuáles son algunas de estas zonas, básicamente a través de diferentes secciones, a través de lo ancho y largo del condado, Silver Spring, Wheaton, Gatesburg, Germantown, Bethesda, hasta Rockville, y esto pues los medidores han sido con los crímenes de homicidio, asaltos o robos, para determinar cuáles son las áreas donde pues la policía quiere colaborar con la comunidad precisamente para la instalación de estas cámaras de video. So, how does this become a tool in deterring criminal activity in those pockets in the community?
Right, that's the whole idea. So having these cameras, one, it serves as a deterrent. We've seen that where neighborhoods that have these cameras, a lot of folks are less likely to want to do something because they're going to be recorded. Two, if an incident does happen, we will know where these cameras are, and after an incident occurs, officers can follow up and go to these particular locations and ask to view that video to help with those investigations.
Le preguntaba, ¿no?, que cómo se va a convertir pues esta colaboración entre la policía y nuestros residentes en términos para detener el crimen. Solamente el hecho de que haya las cámaras de video, pues a la persona que vaya a cometer el crimen pues ya sabe que va a ser grabado el crimen. Entonces, si pasa algo, pues se le daría seguimiento para obtener el video. So this is a proactive approach towards safety and security in some of our neighborhoods, right? Are you particularly taking a look at the online applications that have been submitted so far?
Me personally, no. No.
So,
we have a lot smarter people actually making sure the program runs correctly. So a lot of the, but I can tell you we definitely had some interest.
Okay, so as of today, how many people, I know the program was officially announced that you were taking in the applications just a few days ago. So as of today, how many people have already submitted their online application with a receipt that I just bought my camera and I'm willing to work with you guys?
Yeah, I think we're just a little over 100 now.
Okay.
But I can
About 10%? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yep, I'm sorry, good.
Aproximadamente unas 100 solicitudes hasta el momento. Hay 1000 cámaras disponibles. Y eso sí, la cámara is not retroactive. Let's say I had already a security camera on my property. I cannot send you that receipt now and say, hey, guess what? I'm willing to be part of this program. I would have to get a new camera, correct?
Correct. That's a great question. We've had that come up too. Any camera that's been purchased, if you're eligible, any camera that's been purchased once the program started, so November 15th, I don't know.
Okay. Si usted ya tenía una cámara de seguridad en su propiedad, pues no, desafortunadamente no puede recibir el reembolso. El reembolso tendría que ser que la compra haya sido el pasado 15 de noviembre en adelante, precisamente porque es un nuevo programa que comenzó oficialmente el 15 de noviembre. Así que ya aproximadamente 100 personas han sometido estas solicitudes. Okay, so it is a partnership that empowers the residents, the business owners, etc. When you say it's a partnership between the community and law enforcement, what does that mean? I have to give you some video, correct? If you ask for it. What kind of arrangement do the residents have with the police?
Yep. So part of our mission as the police department is to work in partnership with the community. That's really important, right? We have over 1 million people live here. There's only about 1,000 police officers, roughly. We can't be effective unless we have the community side. So this program is definitely a tool that helps with public safety. It helps with that partnership. But with the video, they are not obligated to share it with us. But it's very important, obviously, if they have the video, that they should want to do so.
Not obligated to share the video?
No, they're not obligated. No.
Okay.
We can't come there and demand.
Okay. Este programa, pues usted instala su cámara de vigilancia de seguridad en su propiedad y es como una asociación de colaboración entre las personas que vivimos en el condado y los agentes del orden. Hay más de 1 millón de habitantes en el condado, un poco más de 1000 policías en nuestro departamento y como parte de la seguridad pública, pues es una colaboración, pero usted no está obligado a compartir el video con las autoridades. So, but still, to apply for the reimbursement, the camera that I were to buy would have to meet certain video quality standards, and I would have to save the video for about 7 days and all of that. Exactly. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's right. Yeah, one of the things that is built into the program that the county wanted to make sure that they had is the ability for that camera to record up to 7 days, so we can capture that particular data. And I will say that when the applicant shares this video with us, it's going to be treated just as any type of law enforcement evidence. We will do just like any type of investigation, protecting the identity of the person who shares it with us. It will only be used for official law enforcement purposes. So, we're not going to sit there and put it out on social media or something like that where it's going to be treated just as evidence, to enhance that case.
Okay. ¿Qué pasa con este programa? La cámara que usted compre, pues tiene que cumplir con ciertos estándares de lo que es la calidad del video para poder, pues, que le den este reembolso, que puede ser de $250 por la compra de la cámara, y por supuesto también requiere, pues, capacidad técnica y de video mínima necesaria. Ahora, ¿qué va a hacer la policía si usted comparte ese video? Se va a tratar como evidencia para resolver cualquier tipo de crimen que su cámara haya captado protege la identidad, obviamente, de la persona que está dándole en colaboración el video a la policía, y no se va a utilizar, no social media, ¿correct? No se utilizan los videos en las redes sociales tampoco, solamente se va a tratar como que si fuera un video de evidencia, como se tratan todos los videos de evidencia relacionados con esto. So why the 7 days of video, saving the video, for which I would have to, I don't have a security camera in my property, I should get one. Why 7 days of storage of the video if I can choose to share it or not with the police department?
Right, so two things. So we're kind of a, if the person's participating in a program and they want to get this camera, obviously we're taking it on face value that they want to be a partnership with us with doing so. So I anticipate most people are going to want to share their video with us because they're interested in keeping their community safe. The 7 days was there because a lot of times we may not know about an incident, or by the time we come to follow up, it may be a couple of days. Sometimes it may be right away, but sometimes they may not have learned about an incident. It may be a couple of days afterwards. So if they're not reporting video, only for a few days, by the time they know about it and go back to look at it, it may be gone. I know I've had that experience with my cameras in my house.
Okay.
So it's definitely a good tool to have. So that's why we came up with 7.
La importancia de reservar el video por 7 días es porque hay veces que no sabemos, ¿no? Si se ha grabado, si no se han grabado las imágenes, y si la persona, por lo general, las personas que van a participar o que se perfilan para participar en este programa, pues tienen la intención y van a querer compartir este video con las autoridades. So once again, I hand over the video of whatever presumably happened in front of my door, and you grab it, but I remain anonymous, correct?
We will do all we can to make sure. For most part, yes, that's how it is. Now, you may need to come testify in court as a witness. There's always a chance, depending on what it is. But for the most part, these are just used for case enhancement for leads. I will also tell you, a lot of times, it's just not for criminal activity. People who have had these cameras, we've had a secondary benefit, and that's for missing kids who've gone wandering, and that's really helped with identifying what they were wearing, the direction of travel. So there's a lot of benefits for having these cameras. So,
el tener estas cámaras, pues obviamente aporta bastante beneficios a protección, aparte de, pues obviamente, de tener a alguien que venga a cometer un crimen en los vecindarios. Pues hay otro componente, cuando a veces se pierden niños que se desaparecen, pues las cámaras son importantes porque pueden ellos ver quizás la ropa que tenían puesta alguien que resulta que se ha perdido dentro de nuestra comunidad, que ocurre prácticamente todos los días acá en este condado de Montgomery, así que es una manera de colaboración con la policía. Okay, so it does say that the applicants must agree in writing that the security camera will not be used for the purpose of recording private property not owned by the applicant. So if I have a white lens and my property on the camera, it's very likely that I'm recording whatever is happening across the street, my neighbor across the street. So how does that work?
So we understand there's always it's always going to happen. The thing is, it's not primarily used to record somebody else's property. So obviously your property line is going to meet up next to someone else's. We understand you're going to have that. It's mainly you're not using it to look through your neighbor's window or just, just on your neighbor's property. So we get that. So it's primarily just for your property. But we understand, obviously, there's wide lenses just cover that. So that's fine.
Porque adicionalmente, pues este programa dice que usted, cuando va a participar en este programa, tiene que acordar el hecho y por escrito de que usted, a través de su cámara de seguridad, no va a estar, pues, grabando imágenes de las propiedades privadas que no son las suyas. Obviamente, si estas cámaras pues tienen un lente ancho, pues si usted tiene un vecino al frente, va a estar grabando los alrededores de la propiedad, la suya y la del vecino al frente. Entonces, lo importante de esto es que usted esté de acuerdo que usted no va a estar enfocando esa cámara, digamos, a través de la ventana del vecino, etcétera. Pero definitivamente es posible que sí, que se grabe las imágenes exteriores de la propiedad de otra persona. These cameras, they need to be installed not on the door, but on, is there a specific location? Is it outside the building? Where? Closer to the roof? What are the specs for that?
So just it needs to be installed on the exterior of the building. So, and that's why the cameras have to be. It says in the application in the specs too. It needs to be an outdoor camera. It needs to be weatherproof. So, and installed in the exterior of the building. So we didn't get too specific. You know, depending on the building, there may be a best location for that, and that's up to the applicant to have it. So. It just needs to be on the outside so it's capable of recording appropriately.
Las cámaras pues obviamente se tienen que instalar en el exterior de la propiedad. Una vez más, en el sitio web montgomerycountymd.gov/POL, usted puede ingresar y ahí están el resto de las especificaciones, pero sí tiene que instalarse afuera. Tiene que obviamente pues ser algo impermeable, por si acaso, pues, dependiendo de las condiciones climatológicas, y usted la puede instalar pues en la parte exterior en la posición que desee. So, Lieutenant, I did hear that some HOAs do not allow cameras installed on the front of the properties. I'm not quite sure because you couldn't drill perhaps a structure on the outside. Have you heard anything related to that?
HOA, I mean, I know all HOAs are a little bit different with their bylaws, so definitely check with your HOAs. And if you're renting, if you're a tenant, obviously check with your lease agreement, your lease agreement, make sure it's fine with that too. But if there's questions about the HOA guidelines and they're not sure, I suggest they call 311 and they can direct them to, it used to be called CCOC, but there's a, I'll have to get you the information exactly who it is, but if the HOA is kind of like overstepping in their bylaws, I remember, not to get off topic, but I remember when people wanted to start putting solar panels on top of their house, HOAs were like, can't do that. Well, now they have it to where you don't have to go through HOA. So I think, I have not heard of any HOAs,
okay.
The ones I've done.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I did hear about that. Some HOAs and some townhouses up county. En relación a, digamos que usted viva en condominio o en uno de estos lugares donde hay asociaciones de propietarios, pues obviamente hay que chequear con ellos en términos de dónde se pueden, cuáles son las guías que tienen internamente, porque todas son diferentes en cuanto a lo que son las reglas de conductas para los miembros de la asociación de propietarios. Entonces es importante chequear con ellos. A la misma vez, si usted es inquilino y desea instalar una de estas cámaras, tiene que tomar en cuenta de que le debe pedir permiso al propietario de donde usted vive, al dueño de la propiedad, si usted es inquilino. Así que es importante recalcar que siempre, pues si usted vive en alguna comunidad donde hay una asociación de propietarios, pregunte antes de comprar la cámara para pues presentar la solicitud para el reembolso. Así que eso es importante. So you're looking, it's definitely exterior. So for condominiums, no way. It has to be like the condominium, the whole condominium that decides to do so, right?
Well, with the condominium, you have the balcony typically the exterior. So that would be, that's an exterior of the building. So absolutely.
Esto es para exteriores, así que no necesariamente para edificios de condominios en interiores. Una vez más, este es un programa nuevo que lanzó la policía del Condado de Montgomery, fue aprobado por el Consejo del Condado. Tenemos $255,000 para este año fiscal, unas 1,000 cámaras, ya 100 se han comprado y folks need to purchase and install before applying for the reimbursement, correct?
Correct. Yep, so you want to apply first, see if you're eligible. And then once you're eligible, go get the camera, purchase the camera. You come back to the application phase, you upload your documents, the receipt, your invoice, and then it'll continue through the process.
Okay. Primero, deben comprar la cámara antes de instalarla, pero el primer paso es verdaderamente ingresar, ir a la solicitud para ver si usted es elegible, comenzar el proceso y posteriormente comprar la cámara de seguridad para que le den el reembolso. How long does the reimbursement take? Where is it coming from?
It's coming from county finance, not the police department, so it could take a little bit. But I will tell you that once...
And you don't know if people are getting a check, a card with money?
It's a check. It will be a check.
A check? Okay.
Yep.
Ok, entonces el Departamento de Finanzas, una vez que formalmente instalado y le aprueban su reembolso, va a recibir un cheque directamente del Departamento de Finanzas del Condado de Montgomery. Is there an inspection? When I submit the application, do I need to, if I install the camera, I think I read it right. If I install the camera, I could call the police department for you guys to come in and inspect, do an inspection that I installed it right?
Yeah, it's automatic in the workflow. So once you upload your picture of where your camera is and your documents that you purchased it and it's installed, once you submit that in the application phase, it automatically goes out to whatever district you live in. And an officer's going to come out and look at it. Make sure it's installed correctly to verify. And that's your opportunity to meet one of the police officers that work in your community.
Ok. Una vez que ya usted compró la cámara, que presentó la solicitud, que ya llenó toda la documentación, porque usted tiene que adjuntar el recibo de la compra de la cámara y digamos que la instale usted mismo, pues ya toda esa información automáticamente va a lo que es la estación de policía de su distrito, de la zona donde usted vive, y entonces un oficial de la policía viene para asegurarse que la cámara está instalada de acuerdo y pues le dan el ok. Es una buena oportunidad para conocer a uno de nuestros agentes del orden y pues posteriormente va a recibir entonces ese cheque de reembolso de los $250. One last question, because I think we have about a minute left. Do you know the price range for these cameras in the market these days, more or less? The one that you guys want us to install, more or less, what is the price range?
They're right around $200. I mean, yesterday.
How much?
They're typically around $200. So, and we'll reimburse.
Oh, they're typically 200.
We'll reimburse you for the amount of the camera up to $250.
Ok, so estas cámaras de seguridad, pues básicamente son unos $200 más o menos, puede ser un poquito más, y el reembolso es hasta $250. The police department does not reimburse for the recording fees, nor the installation if you hire somebody to install it, correct? Okay. Y la policía, por supuesto, no le va a reembolsar el servicio de que usted esté grabando la cámara, esté grabando su camarita, ni tampoco por la instalación. Si hace usted la instalación, pues ya sabe, directamente viene una policía a ver que la ha instalado bien. Bueno, Lieutenant, we're done. Thank you for joining us today. Time's up. The half hour just went by very quickly. Y usted recuerde, para más información, Montgomery County, md.gov/POL. El primer paso, entrar en el mapa interactivo, a ver si usted está en una de las zonas que son de las prioritarias para la policía del Condado de Montgomery. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Y hasta aquí su espacio, Montgomery al Día. Gracias por su amable sintonía y será entonces hasta el próximo martes a la misma hora por esta su emisora.